Okay, we're going to be talking about the mid-Atlantic now, which is New York and Pennsylvania. So right here, okay? That's the mid-Atlantic that we're going to be talking about. And this is Unit 4, and we're going to be on Lesson 13. So there's your map, okay? So you'll have to refer to that. Often when people think of New York, they think of a huge and bustling city. But that is only part of New York. That's New York City down here. New York is also tall mountains, crystal clear lakes, and majestic waterfalls. It is apple orchards and cabbage fields. Find New York on the map at the beginning of this book. And here it is. There's New York. The Statue of Liberty has held up her torch over New York City, Greenward, since the 1880s. For many years, she welcomed immigrants arriving in New York City by ship from Europe. Today, visitors from around the world climb up under her crown for a view of New York City. New York City is the largest city in America. Over 8 million people call this place home. Millions more visit every year to ride the subway or see a Broadway play and celebrate New Year's Eve in Times Square. People call New York City the city that never sleeps. The Hudson River Valley is the next section. An important river flows through the state of New York from the Adirondack Mountains, Greenward, to New York City. The Mohicans call it Mohicannuck, which means great waters constantly in motion. English explorer Henry Hudson explored the river valley in 1609. He hoped to find a route that would take him all the way to the Pacific Ocean. At the time, no one knew how big North America really is. So he was hoping he could find a route that would just take him straight to the Pacific. Of course, he had no idea he'd have to go through Europe and all the way around the whole world. Henry Hudson and his crew sailed 150 miles up the river valley before they turned around and headed back to the Atlantic. The river that Henry Hudson explored is now called the Hudson River. Here it is. Today, companies ship a variety of cargo on the river, including scrap metal, grain, and cocoa beans. The capital of New York is Albany. Hundreds of workers spent 32 years in the late 1800s building New York's capital in Albany. It was an expensive project. Can you guess how much it cost just to build the $1 million staircase? The building's intricate carvings are the work of over 500 stone cutters. Some of the carvings show faces people recognize, such as George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Other stone figures show the faces of some of the stone cutters' relatives and friends. Lake Placid hosted the Winter Olympic Games in 1932 and again in 1980. Hockey players and figure skaters from around the world competed against each other at Lake Placid's ice rink. Visitors today can take a ride on a bobsled and see the slopes where Olympic athletes skied. The top of the ski jump tower offers a stunning view of another Greenward, Mount Marcy. So we've got Lake Placid and Mount Marcy in green. Mount Marcy is the highest point in New York State. Athletes come to Lake Placid to train so they will be ready to compete in future Olympic Games. Have you ever heard of Thousand Island dressing? Maybe you have seen it on a salad. Maybe there is a bottle in your fridge. The dressing is named for the Thousand Islands region in the St. Lawrence River that flows between New York and Canada. There are more than 1,700 islands in this region. The St. Lawrence River is part of the St. Lawrence Seaway. This busy seaway allows ships to travel from the Atlantic Ocean to the cities on the Great Lakes and then back again. This route lets ships bring their cargo to and from the middle of America and Canada without using trains or trucks. Workers have constructed locks along the seaway, which make the water deep enough for large ocean ships. And I'm going to put a video up so you can see what locks are, okay? So once you pause it right now and go look at my video for the locks. A lock raises and lowers water levels between huge gates so that ships can pass through safely. And now we have the Finger Lakes. 11 long, skinny lakes stretch through the hills of central New York, creating the Finger Lakes region. The soil and climate among these hills are just right for growing grapes. Snowshoeing, snowmobiling, skiing, and ice fishing are popular sports here in the winter. Ice fishermen cut holes in the frozen lakes and lower their fishing lines into the water below. Some ice fishermen bring a small shack or shanty on the ice so they can be warm while they fish. And then here's Niagara Falls. That's a Greenward. It's on the border between the United States and Canada. Niagara Falls is actually made up of 3 waterfalls: American Falls, Bridal Veil Falls, and Horseshoe Falls. The highest point on the falls is over 176 feet. A series of locks on the St. Lawrence Seaway allows ships to go around Niagara Falls on their way to the Great Lakes. The powerful flow of water over Niagara Falls reminds us of the awesome power of the one who created it. Once God has spoken, twice I have heard this. The power belongs to God. Okay, so I want you to make sure you illustrate the geographic term for New York in the Atlas workbook. That's on page 16. If you're using the lesson review, you need to answer the questions. And so I'm going to ask you those real quickly. Okay, so the first question is, what is the largest city in America? This is lesson 13, New York. What is the largest city in America? Who knows the answer to that one? Okay, the answer is New York City. The blank river flows from the Adirondack Mountains to New York City. The answer is the Hudson River. What did Lake Placid host in 1932 and again in 1980? Pause it if you need a second, but the answer is Olympic Winter Games. The St. Lawrence what allows ships to travel from the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes and then back again? It's the St. Lawrence Seaway. And Niagara Falls is on the border between the United States and what other country? And the answer is Canada. Okay, so hopefully you got that done. Okay, and then we are going to read a chapter in the book, The Cabin Faced West. And I need to look real quick to see if there's something I'm going to read on page 15 in here. The Cabin Faced West is based on the real-life experiences of her great-grandmother, Jean Fritz. And she shares the trials, loneliness, and hardships of frontier life in Western Pennsylvania through the eyes of 10-year-old Anne Hamilton. So that is going to be what we're going to be reading about. And this says to think about all the winter sports in the Olympics. Okay, so that is everything for lesson 13. And when you're done, please make sure you view the video of the locks. Please make sure you listen to the chapter. And also, please listen to the link I have put up for Old Roger the Tin Maker Man as well.